4 years ago, on the Sunday before Christmas, I stood up here and mentioned that in the little coastal town in Oregon where we raised our children, I worked with another congregational church to put on a production of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. My hope back then was to create a Christmas show tradition in a town that didn't have one. I stand before you today, 20 years after my first A Christmas Carol production, exhausted, but exuberant, and very pleased to say that this church and this community yesterday completed a production of A Christmas Carol that outdid first effort in Oregon by an Ohio country mile. Not only did we put on a wonderful production and play for the community and connect youth to the community through the performing arts like we did in Oregon, but through the grace of God and the generosity of this community, we raised a fair amount of money for the winter sanctuary. The final numbers and costs are not tallied, but we appear to have taken in something in the neighborhood of $35,000 or $40,000. I get tearful over that too. The least among us benefited from this project beyond what I ever imagined. And that's such a wonderful thing. And thank you and God for making it possible. And since I've been immersed in the story for hours and hours and hours, I thought I'd close out this glorious production weekend this morning by preaching on A Christmas Carol. We probably all know the story, but I want to again explore the theological meanings. They are very biblical and very Christian and very Christmas-oriented. And not just in our production, but as Dickens meant it to be. A Christmas Carol is a story about a person, Scrooge, who has had many blessings in life. But we find Scrooge during the Christmas season, late in life, having created darkness by not providing blessings to anyone, not even himself. For many years, Scrooge had been taking in and making material wealth, which is a blessing, but only if it is used for betterment and for God. Scrooge's sin was inhaling blessings, but not exhaling them. And the consequences we learned in that story is that sin imposes darkness not just on those Scrooge didn't bless with kindness and compassion, but actually most of the darkness was imposed upon himself in the original story and herself in our production. Scrooge takes in what could be goodness, but at the start of the story she's doing nothing with it, providing no goodness back, and the result is she is metaphorically blind and living in great darkness. Scrooge is a very, very rich in money kind of person, but her life is by no means rich, and neither does she enrich the lives of those she has any sort of relationship with. Scrooge underpays and overworks her employee. Scrooge berates and disinherits her more compassionate relatives. She ignores and belittles those much less fortunate than she even shortchanges herself, working and living in virtual squalor. And the result of all this is that with all the blessings she has in her life, all the potential goodness Scrooge takes in, it's all for naught. And sure, while Scrooge imposes some darkness on those around her, she is living in complete darkness. Greed has overshadowed and deprived her of the light of love in life. And the Christmas stories in the Bible are about that light coming in the dark. About a very vulnerable baby and his family being the source of light in the lives of those who listen to God, no matter their socioeconomic or cultural status. The source of light in the gospel accounts is generated by love. Love from God, love in that little holy family, and love in the community. And the source of darkness in the Gospels are those who lived lack-loved lives and threatened others on their ungodly quest for more earthly things like power and money. The bringers of the dark take, and they take, and they take, and they do not give anything meaningful back. In stark contrast with bringers of light in our Bible lesson, take in blessings, but they also give them out in good measure. There's a Jewish midrash, a theological story that I've mentioned a few times here before, and the newspaper article earlier this Advent quoted me on it. The midrash explains that the Hebrew name for God is Yahweh, because that is the sound of our breath. That we take in Yah, and we breathe out Weh, and that is God, Yahweh, giving us life. Our life is bookended by God. Yah in the intake we first have at birth, and Weh in the outtake we last have at death. And Yahweh is God present in between throughout our lives as we live and we breathe. I love that image. God is with and in our first breath and every other one we take until we breathe no more. And this is true all the time, whether we acknowledge it or not. And Yah can be understood as the God part we consciously take in. And it is important that we breathe in God and let the Savior fill our whole being. But it's equally important that we breathe God out and that giving off of God becomes our way. Pun intended. And I mentioned when I stood up here 4 years ago how in the first production of A Christmas Carol in Oregon, I played Scrooge, and that I came to realize I made an ironic error when I performed that role. An error Kate, who brilliantly played Scrooge this weekend, did not make. What I did was that in order to control the long sentences Dickens wrote for Scrooge better, I would draw in a huge breath and let it out in a very controlled manner as I spoke. What I didn't count on was that by the time the ghost of Christmas past arrived on stage, I felt faint. And I would go off stage at the end of the scene and put my head down and carefully breathe fresh air in and out so not to faint. And at first I thought it was a chemical used in the new stage curtain. Could have been my fault. And eventually it dawned on me that I was hyperventilating. My blood was too rich with oxygen. Pretty silly of me, especially for a seasoned actor. Should have known better. But see, had I done it right, I wouldn't have this lovely metaphor for us. We have to balance our intake and outtake of breath, of Yah, and Weh. Blessings we take in are wonderful, but we also have to give blessings out. Otherwise, there is darkness, a fainting sort of existence, if you will. There's darkness when we only take in blessings and do not, in turn, exhale blessings back out. In the famous Christmas reading from Luke, there's much darkness. Caesar Augustus and his cronies have ruled the Roman Empire, taking in blessing after blessing after blessing for themselves. Scrooge, like they cannot get enough of it, and they hoard it, recklessly living in wanton disregard of others. They are consumed with greed for power and for wealth. They want more and more and more. And so we're told all in Palestine, regardless of health or wealth or disabilities or circumstances, had to travel for the sole purpose of providing more revenue to those haves. Like many have-nots, Joseph and Mary had to do what the dark forces of earthly power of Rome demanded, or they'd suffer even greater hardships. And Mary with Joseph helped carry his light in a dark womb, in a dark time. It was so dark a time that even a very vulnerable woman, great with child, was forced to walk for days, and at the end of the journey was unable to find a proper room to give birth in. Earthly power's dark ways of taking and taking and taking, of only breathing in and rarely breathing out blessings, cast a pall over the world that the Holy Family existed in. And it's so dark that a pregnant woman is not provided basic care or comfort when she goes into labor. Nor is her infant. It's so dark that the Son of God is not properly provided for and welcomed by the powerful and the mighty. Yet the purported baser beings, the animals, share their space and their eating trough. And even the purported baser humans of the time, like shepherds who were the ruffians of the first century Palestine, welcomed the light. The greedy, the powerful, selfishly shut out the light and continued to live in and create darkness. And the character of Scrooge is not unlike Rome, and Dickens has his first encounter Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. Scrooge at the start even considers the caring ways of younger days as baser ways of being. But that baser self, Scrooge, the caring, compassionate side, is what finally bursts back out, shining a great and wondrous light at the end of the story. After Scrooge has been shown who she was, and what she is now, and what she will become if she continues in darkness, Scrooge finally chooses to strive for the light by letting out the breath of the blessings of God that she has held back for so long. And it makes all the difference in so many lives when the blessings get shared, not the least of which is Scrooge's own life. Breathing God outward, exhaling the divine, Scrooge generates the light of love at the end of the story. Scrooge becomes rich not only in the blessings of earthly wealth, but in the blessings of heavenly wealth. Love abounds. And Christmas arrives during the week of the winter solstice, literally the darkest time of the year. And it's the perfect time for Jesus' birth to be celebrated in the days immediately after the darkness begins its annual retreat and light begins to fill our days more and more. Christ's bright light is generated by love. That bright, loving light outshines whatever darkness we are in, alone or together. Love transforms the dark. With love, we can get through anything, any darkness, and we can help others get through their darknesses. Scrooge's deepest darkness was filled by three lights, spirits of the past, the present, and the future. The very same reference of time I've suggested before, that the Trinity can be heard to represent. The Creator as the past, the part of God reverberating in the universe when it was set into motion. Christ as the present, the incarnation of God here and now in this moment. The Holy Spirit as the future, the hope and the aim toward betterment which God sends us toward in each new moment to the next. If we let those three personas of God speak to us as Scrooge finally does, we will not just breathe blessings and God in, but breathe blessings and God out. And whatever darkness or faintness we might feel will be flooded with light, and so will those we breathe it out around. Eyes will open and see the light. And the light is God in creation, and God in this moment, and God in the promise, the future. And the source of light can be us. We can generate that light by breathing God in and breathing God out. And most of us do this especially well at Advent and Christmas. And the story of A Christmas Carol suggests it's never too late to get out the breath of God and get it going properly in both directions, taking blessings in and giving blessings out. And the result for Scrooge is complete transformation of life. It makes all the difference and matters so much. And the story of Christmas in the Bible suggests that no matter how rough or dark or dank or stable floor-like things in life might seem, love can bring light into such places. Anywhere, anytime we exhale goodness and love, Godness shines. The Advent and Christmas lesson is this: breathe God in and breathe God out, and there will